that. People are edging towards the finishing line, and we are very nearly there. And we're very nearly there on Teachers Talk Radio. This morning on the show, should masks continue? What's it like in Lisbon? And so much more.
Live from Liverpool, this is The Morning Break with Tom Rogers on Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live on the Podbean app or desktop player. Just head over to www.podbean.com/LSW/TT Radio or search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TT Radio.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that you are well this morning. It's Thursday, the 15th of July, 2021. And for many people, they have made it through to the end of this most grueling of academic years. And speaking to teachers around the world, I think if you go onto Twitter, if you go on a Facebook, if you go onto any social network and you ask how teachers are feeling, most teachers are absolutely exhausted. A lot of teachers are actually feeling quite fed up in a way, that they're feeling really pressured and yeah, a lot of teachers really struggling at the moment. And perhaps there is a ignorance of that fact outside of the profession, but certainly that's the way it is for many of them. The reasons for that are, if you think back to last September, if you think back to multiple lockdowns, teaching virtually for much of the year, in the UK, it was there was an original spurt in kind of September time, and then there was another one at Christmas, and then we did Christmas through to kind of April time. So there was like a 4-month period where there was a lot of online virtual teaching. That was really difficult. And I think that put a lot of not only pressure, but it was a lot of fatigue from trying to switch to teaching online. It was a huge undertaking for teachers earlier in this academic year. And I think that put a strain on them. And I think some of them have never really recovered from there. And then they've kind of gone back into face-to-face teaching. Obviously, the children have had to come in and readjust, which has meant that you've had various different behavior issues and everything else. And it's been difficult to readjust for teachers and students, but particularly teachers, because they've been very, very tired from the outset. And now, after doing the equivalent of at least a term of kind of face-to-face teaching, it's been a steep curve back. And now some have broken up, but some have still got a week to go. Some don't break up for another week after this one. So it's not kind of the end for a lot of teachers. It's nearly the end, but not quite the end. But I'm hoping that everybody can just edge through to that summer holiday and get there. For me, I am breaking up on Monday. So I'm finishing on Monday. So I'm going to be a very happy man at about 3:30 on Monday. Until then, I will be continuing that journey to the sound of the breakup bell on Monday at 3:30. In terms of the show today, we've got plenty to discuss, and I know Lucy is in the studio, so Lucy just needs to hit the call-in button when she's ready. But certainly we've got plenty to discuss. One of them is what's it like to teach over in Lisbon? How's it going over there? What's the story in Portugal? Are things better or worse than they are in the UK? Good morning, Lucy. Are you okay?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for clicking that call-in button. That's much appreciated.
Oh, not a problem. It's lovely to be here with you. I know that we've sort of talked for a while over the last couple of years or so, certainly when I was still in the UK, and now we've reconnected again, which is absolutely lovely.
Excellent stuff. So do you want to kind of introduce yourself in terms of where you're at, what you do, and so on?
Not a problem. So my name is Lucy, and I've been teaching now. I've just finished my 5th year. So I did 4 years in the UK, qualifying in 2016. And as of October last year, I took the journey over here to Lisbon, and I have just completed my first academic year here, which has been pretty bananas, actually. I think in line with the experiences that you've been having in the UK.
Yeah, and what subject do you teach?
Well, I'm primary teacher, so
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realise.
So it's no, it's fine. So it's across the board, as primary teachers know. Only
Yeah.
now, with the exception of things like I don't teach Portuguese because unfortunately I'm not quite as well, I'm not fluent at all. I mean, it's a very difficult language to learn, so I leave that up to the specialists that we have
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I lived up in Vigo. I don't know if you know that, but it's up north of Porto by about an hour in the car. So I spent quite a lot of time in the north of Portugal, particularly in Porto. So I know Portugal quite well. The language is tough. It's even tougher than Spanish. But this is from a man who is terrible at languages and learned nothing over like 2 years in Spain. Well, I say nothing, next to nothing. I was just terrible, basically. It's one of my most shameful episodes, not learning anything. But with regards to primary, I know that like in primary, teachers like focus in on particular year groups. So what's your kind of specialism? Are you like early years or are you year later on?
Well, no, I've just finished with a year 5 class who were absolutely wonderful. So I'm more key stage 2, kind of upper key stage 2 is really my thing. And actually, when I got offered the job to come out here, the head teacher said to me, you know, it's year 5. Are you okay with that? And I had to kind of contain my excitement a little bit because, to be fair, I was at the point kind of with my career in the UK that if he'd said to me reception, which is not my experience at all, I would have taken it because I wanted to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, how have you found it this year? I mean, that's probably the first thing to ask. And why October, by the way? Why not summer?
Well, interestingly, I applied for my job back in March of last year, which of course is when everything was falling apart, as we're all well aware. It was continental Europe was shutting down because my interview was meant to take place in London, very formally in person. And I was emailing away with the head teacher saying, you know, are you sure this interview is going to happen? And he was very animated. Yes. You know, we're going to meet in person. It's going to be great. And then, of course, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we ended up having a lovely Zoom chat, and he just said to me, "At the moment, Lucy, it's not going to happen. Sorry, I've got no way of getting you out here, and we've all just or are about to go online." Okay.
I bet you were gutted at that point.
I was.
Yeah.
Then I became that person where I thought, right, because the school I'm at is the school I really, really wanted. I've done a lot of research over Spain, Portugal, and I thought, right, I'm going to keep on at this head teacher. And so fast forward to kind of the back end of August, where it looked like things were all right-ish. And I emailed the head teacher again saying, hello, it's me again, still interested. There's a lot of this that goes on in international teaching. You do one of the tips I would sort of say to people wanting to do this is you need to hunt these head teachers down because they are, I hate to say it, but they are terrible at getting back to you. They're busy people. But so he said, you know, Lucy, hold your horses. I've still got you in mind. Don't worry. Okay. So I carried on doing what I was doing. And then about 2 weeks later, I got an email from him saying, oh, fancy a chat. And I thought, that's a bit strange. No head teacher has time for just a chat. So I toddled off upstairs to, because I was living at home at the time, and tuned into this Zoom. And he said to me, look, I've got a situation where my year 5 teacher, one of my year 5 teachers, is taking a deputy headship back in the UK for family reasons. And basically, I'm without a year 5 teacher. And essentially, do you want a job? How soon can you be here? And I sort of sat there in stunned silence for about, what felt like a while. And I said, well, how soon is soon? He said, well, you know, sort of 3.5, kind of 4 weeks. And I said, well, yeah, I can do that. I was living at home. The only thing I owned was my car, which I was actually very pleased to get rid of. And with 2 suitcases, I hopped on a plane 3.5 weeks later and have never looked back.
I love that spontaneity. That's brilliant. It's exactly the kind of thing I would probably do. But certainly, yeah. So what I don't get is, how have you done that, like, work-wise then? I mean, were you still under contract in the UK? I mean, how did that work?
So I was just finishing up a maternity contract, which was very fortunate. So that came to an end in that August, and I was kind of facing into the abyss a little bit, because my plan was international teaching. I had the experience at that point. I knew that was kind of my next step. So I was doing bits and bobs. I was signing up to supply agencies. I was tutoring a little bit as well, because I know that there were parents concerned after that first lockdown that children were behind, and I know that's an ongoing discussion globally, actually, in fact. So I was busy, but I kind of had my energy was going into speaking to international head teachers and trying to sort of make that next move happen.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, well, I mean, that's good news then. So you decide to fly out to Lisbon, and then you presumably get to Lisbon last October. And what are your first impressions? What's your first impressions of that? And also, text in from Noreen as well. What prompted you to move abroad, and why Lisbon? You know, you said you'd researched Spain and Portugal, so why Portugal?
Well, I'd wanted to go abroad, and I didn't want to go so further afield. I think maybe had I been a little bit younger, I'm only in my 30s now, but I didn't quite want the sort of level of, or the distance of somewhere like China, Singapore, Australia, wherever. But and I've always, I've holidayed in Europe all my life. I have a very strong affinity with a lot of countries in Europe, and for me it was somewhere that I could kind of get away but have the outdoor life, better weather, and it's on the doorstep. I mean, when things return to a degree of normality,
of course,
I can go backwards and forwards should I need to, and it's nice to know that my family are not that far away. So that was really kind of the driving force behind it. And just being able to live in a country where I'm not, and this sounds awful, but where I'm not kind of staring out the window at rain clouds in the middle of July, and being able to, I can step out my front door and go walking, go surfing, go paddleboarding, and it's pretty nice. It's a pretty good little life.
I mean, I remember when that's the thing I miss. Probably one of the things I miss the most about Spain is obviously the weather. I mean, even in the north there, it was just so nice. And summer, you guaranteed, more or less, temperatures, weather. Whereas in the good old UK, it's just so depressing sometimes to wake up like this Monday after England's debacle. It was waking up and it was grey and it was rainy and it was windy, and you just think, oh God. And you just think, that we're in July, and obviously being in Spain and Portugal, it just never really happened like that. And even when it wasn't like blazing, it just never felt that kind of grey gloom. I'm wondering whether there's some kind of emotional disorder associated with living in the UK.
I think there is, and I mean, winter here is so short. I mean, sort of December, January is a little bit grim, and this is probably rubbing salt into the wound here, but by mid-February I was back in shorts. I mean, we were in deep lockdown at that point, and you could only kind of walk around the block, but you could do it in shorts.
Yeah, of course. That's just so cool. So you got to Lisbon. Yeah. And so what were your kind of first impressions, and was it immediately exciting and living up to expectations?
Oh yes, and I think it was the novelty of being somewhere else. I was by myself, so I moved just me, which in a way, is a luxury, because you're kind of under your own steam. You can sort things out for yourself. You're not having to worry about other people. It is just kind of right. I'm here. And I initially moved in with a landlady, actually, because I had to move so fast. She was very helpful in sorting me out and making sure that I was initially all right. Yeah. And at that stage, Lisbon and sort of the surrounding area where I live wasn't, life was fairly, dare I say it, was fairly normal. I mean, masks were still, people were out and about in masks, but things were functioning. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like arriving somewhere in deepest, darkest lockdown.
Yeah,
It
of course. Yeah.
things were buzzing. And
Semi-lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was able to explore. I sort of had a few days before I went into the city of Lisbon. I walked around where I live in Cascais.
So Cascais is famous. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because hang on, let me get this right. The Duke of God, Jesus, I hate. You know what? It's just too early. The king's brother, you know, the one who abdicated with Wallace Simpson. I can't even. You know what? My mind's lit. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. He was staying there in Cascais. Did you know that? In 1941, he was staying there for about 2 to 3 months. He was there with Wallace Simpson. So you'll have to find out where it was.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
He was staying with a banker, Santo. I can't remember his first name, but it was a banker's house in Cascais. So you'll have to Cascais. How'd you say it? Which way around is it?
I mean, Cascais. I mean, I think I'm probably butchering that as well. So
yeah, but it sounded nice from the descriptions I read of it. Anyway, it's kind of a suburban area, isn't it? With the beach, you got the beach there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Lisbon line. I mean, the kind of the glorious thing about it is I can hop on a train and be in the city centre in 40 minutes or less.
Yeah.
So it's but it's part of the greater, which I still don't really understand how the municipalities work here, but it's part of the greater Lisbon area where I live.
Yeah.
And then the Cascais municipality kind of stretches out sort of, I don't even know how far, but almost, I think it includes actually the westernmost point of Europe, which is quite fun to visit.
Yeah. Now, so when you arrive there, I mean, what's your commute distance to school then from there?
It's about 10 minutes. So my school's in a place called Alcabidesh, and so it's very, very easy in the morning to get there.
Okay.
And, yeah, very.
And can you drive? Are you driving, or are you? How are you?
Not yet. I'm actually spending a fortune on Ubers at the moment. I mean, they're actually
really?
They're much cheaper out here than they would be in the UK. But the next stop is I've got to get over my fear of driving on the right-hand side.
You need to get over that. Do you know when I went to Spain, I drove my Vauxhall Corsa from Liverpool to Spain to Vigo in one go. Got on the ferry, got off, and that was it wasn't my first time driving actually on the other side. I'd done that a couple of times, but I was literally on my own in this car driving from Santander to Vigo, which was a good 7-hour drive, trying to use my sat nav at the same time. And yeah, you need to just get on with it. Just do it.
I think so. I mean, I've done a few road trips with friends, and I have friends out here who drive. The only trouble is the Portuguese are a lovely, lovely people. They will honestly do anything for you, but something happens when they get behind the wheel of a car, and it's just, I've never seen anything like it. It's honestly the roundabout.
Come on, they're not that bad.
Oh, it's
not compared to the Italians or.
Well, the Italians are pretty dicey behind the wheel as well. But no, I mean, I think, as you say, I mean, it will be one of those things where I just have to get over it, because here, there's so many places where you can just be so easy to hop in the car, and I'm kind of restricting myself by not doing that.
Yeah. And what was it like, kind of, so you've done your few years in the UK teaching in presumably a state primary, was it? I don't know. Yeah. And then you've gone out there. So what have been the key differences then since starting last October in this? Presumably it's an international school.
Yes.
So what have been the key, if you were to kind of come up with 3 or 4 key differences, what would you say they are? Oh, hang on, we've got a call in. Sorry, Jackie, I've just missed that call in. Jackie, if you want to call back again, then you can do. Sorry. So what are the key differences?
I think the most notable difference is class size, because I mean, most of us are used to classes of 30, 31, 32. My class this year was 18, so that is, I mean,
That's
a huge
big difference, isn't it?
Yeah. And certainly just the setup generally is quite different, in that you can turn up. I mean, there were some people turning up at 8:30 in the morning. I mean, it's sort of a very chilled vibe in comparison to being in the UK. I mean, I was in school at 7:30 most days. And just in terms of, we teach the British curriculum, but it's a sort of looser interpretation in a way, because obviously it's an international school and there are certain things that just don't quite fit in with the children that we are dealing with and the children that we are teaching. So I think that's quite different. And just from the planning side as well, it's not quite as rigorous, because we haven't got things like Ofsted breathing down our necks. We're still subject to inspections from an organisation called COBIS, but it's not quite, you don't feel quite as afraid of it as you do of Ofsted. So it's a much more relaxed approach to teaching generally. But then, of course, because it's fee paying, the expectations are still very high. You've got a lot of children of very, very important people, some of which like to make you know that they are very important. And so you learn to be a very diplomatic person. And when you have a lot of meetings, and when there is money in the equation, it does change the parent, or for me it certainly has to change the parent teacher dynamic ever so slightly, in that you just are very mindful about who you're talking to.
I get that. I mean, I've experienced similar in my international journey, although I have to say in Vigo the parent community was absolutely fantastic, probably the best parent community that I've come across in terms of as a collective. It was just so amazing. But yeah, all of that makes perfect sense, and it really chimes with my own experience over there in Spain. It was more relaxed. I mean, I have to say the days were longer when I was out in Spain. I mean, we finished teaching at 4:15.
Oh wow!
When I was we didn't start till 9 on the dot, but it was a 4:15 finish, so it was quite a long teaching day compared to if you consider in the UK now, I'm finishing at 3:30. So it was quite a different experience in that way. So what about workload? I mean, would you say you've experienced a reduction in that? Presumably, yes.
Definitely. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we don't do any formal written planning as such. We have, like you would in the UK, sort of flip charts and things that we do. And the reasoning is, well, if you've got all the information there and you can see the journey through that particular lesson, you don't then need to be writing a separate document to kind of go alongside it, which when I heard that was, I mean, I think I teared up slightly because I spent, as we all know, you spend every week kind of reinventing the wheel. And it was just nice to be in a situation where actually a lot of the planning pre-existed, and so you just had to adapt and use it to your specific specifications for your class. So that was great. And in terms of marking as well, the onus is on you to do the kind of feedback that you think is appropriate, and it's given me that space to kind of use my professional judgment, teach children how to mark their own work, which yes, I could do in the UK, but schools I were a little bit funny about it. But it's just being trusted to kind of get on with it is lovely, which I haven't really experienced up until now. And also just being able to manage your time, like our PPA works slightly differently. So we have at least one free period a day, which is kind of almost a bit more like secondary teaching, because children go off to specialists. So I don't teach Portuguese, I don't teach art, music, and I don't teach PE. So, which I'm a bit sad about, but it's things like that. So you have time within the day to gather yourself, to get that extra bit of marking done, to tweak the planning for that afternoon. And it's a far more relaxed approach to the whole day. And you just don't constantly feel like you're chasing your tail. Or whether you've got, I'm used to having half a day's PPA on a Wednesday, and by the time you've kind of made a coffee, sat down and thought about what you need to do, you've got to go back into class.
Absolutely. God, it's so interesting. It's reminding me a lot of my own experiences, as I say, over in Spain. What we're going to do now, Lucy, we're going to break to the news just for a couple of minutes, and when we return, we will continue the conversation, because I want to hear more about how it's gone since then, really, with the teaching online and various other things, and then we can move on to other joyful things like COVID restrictions and all the rest of it.
Wonderful. Look forward to it.
All right, I'll be back with you imminently.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Megan Goods.
This is your latest Teachers Talk Radio News. Yesterday's Prime Minister's questions featured a call from MP Peter Kyle to ensure all teenagers were vaccinated prior to the start of the next academic year. He referred the Prime Minister to the current figure of 800,000 students who are self-isolating. Boris Johnson responded simply, stating that it was a matter for the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. The Scottish Government has agreed to waive all fees for individual music tuition for the next academic year. The Education Secretary, Shirley Ann Somerville, said the chance for young people to have the best start in life should never be limited by a child's ability to pay. Scottish councils will be given £7 million to help fund the scheme, and further support for theatre trips and home economics classes will also be provided. A survey of head teachers in The Guardian this week has revealed that fewer than 1 in 5 schools intend to run catch-up sessions this summer. The main reason for the decision not to run extra schooling was the concern for both pupil and staff well-being. Just 18% of those who took part in the poll said they would be offering voluntary catch-up provision during the summer break, while only 5% said they would ask pupils to do extra homework over the summer. 88% of respondents felt their staff needed a break, and 70% felt the same way about their pupils. This contrasts with the DfE's latest claim that almost 3 out of 4 mainstream secondary schools have signed up to deliver a summer school programme so far, helping young people recover from the disruption to their education. That was your latest Teachers Talk Radio News.
Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. At Creative Resources, we've been rethinking what a classroom can be. We've created a huge range of more than 2,500 original and exciting resources that span across more than 15 different subject areas. Whether you're looking for primary or secondary level resources, careers options, PSHE, arts or humanities, Creative Resources have the resources for you. We offer full curriculum packages and unique, challenging escape rooms themed on topics such as Shakespeare, Tudors, and fractions. We have quizzes, task cards, Tarsier puzzles, and lots more. Better still, more than 100 resources can be accessed for free. Just visit our website, www.cre8tiveresources.com. You can get 10% off any order you make on our website by using the discount code TTRadio. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. Every teacher loves stationery, right? Imagine getting a selection of fun, beautiful and unique stationery items designed and selected especially for teachers, delivered through your door every month. You need to check out teacherslovestationery.club.
I'm always so excited when the box arrives. It's such a treat.
My Teachers Love Stationery Club box is just a little treat to myself every month.
It's always full of delightful and surprising items, including some really good quality stationery brands like Faber-Castell and Stabilo.
And because you never know what you're going to get, it makes it even more fun and special when you get it.
It feels really great to be supporting a family business that's run by real teachers. I can't help feeling like they just know what I'm going to enjoy using stationery-wise better than I do myself.
Visit teacherslovestationery.club and enter the code TTRadio when you buy your first stationery box to save £2 today. teacherslovestationery.club. Introducing the Leadership Masterclass series by Diana Osagi. Learn how to ditch your fears and develop your leadership confidence. How to deal with difficult colleagues. How to thrive when you lead in a challenging environment. And how to get colleagues to buy into your vision. Join Diana for her online leadership masterclasses starting on the 10th of July and running all the way through the summer. These sessions are the perfect way to prepare and refresh for the next academic year and beyond. Book your place at courageousleadership.co.uk/events now. The first 50 leaders to sign up get an additional free mini coaching session with Diana herself. Don't miss this. Courageous Leadership Masterclasses at courageousleadership.co.uk/events. Live from Liverpool, this is the Morning Break with Tom Rogers on Teachers Talk Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Teachers Talk Radio on Thursday, the 15th of July, 2021 with me, Tom Rogers. We are live with Lucy Newberger discussing her experiences teaching over in Lisbon. And if you're experiencing pangs of jealousy about Portuguese sunshine, I can empathise. We're here until 10. We're going to be talking about masks.
Live from Liverpool, this is the Morning Break with Tom Rogers on Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live on the Podbean app or desktop player. Just head over to www.podbean.com/LSW/TT Radio or search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TT Radio.
Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for sticking with me.
No problem.
So we got up to the point where we were talking about your kind of workload over there in Portugal, kind of significantly decreasing.
Yeah.
So what happened with regards to COVID restrictions then when you got out there in October in school? I mean, have things gone online, presumably at some point?
Yes.
For a period.
So we kind of, I mean, Portugal handling was slightly different to the UK in that we had curfews that started to come in. So that didn't really affect school initially. It was more just moving around. You could only be out and about, I think it was at weekends till 1:30 in the afternoon, because the Portuguese love to gather for a long lunch. And so they were, I think the reasoning behind that was trying to stop that happening. And then there were restrictions moving between municipalities. And finally, we went into lockdown in January, sort of about mid-January, which incidentally was around the time that I caught COVID as well.
Oh, God. No. I mean, are you okay? Was it okay? Was it just like a flu, or was it worse? I mean, what was it like?
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate in the sense that I felt absolutely diabolical for about a week. I don't want to call it flu, but the flu-like symptoms, if you like, that I suppose is the easiest way I can explain it, were about a week. And then it was more the tiredness and the brain fog and trying to formulate a coherent thought, which when you're trying to get your kids motivated online is not ideal.
And how long did that go on for after?
It felt like a while, and my smell and taste took about 3-4 weeks to come back as well. But I've also actually just had my first vaccine whilst on the subject, because I had to wait 6 months until I was COVID free. And funnily enough, here, if you've had COVID, the rule is that you can only have one jab, which is a bit bizarre. But
oh, really?
Yeah. So that was
presumably because they think your immunity's got it a bit there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So we hopped online, and it was a long couple of months as I mean, we've all lived through that. Children were sort of, I mean, they'd already done it for most of last year. They'd done it from March all the way through to July last year. So they had a long old slog. They didn't go back into school at all. Apart from, I think, the younger years might have done, as they did in the UK. But here, January to March was a long a long time, and they did very well with it up to a point. We had Google Classroom, which of course has come into its own in the time that we've been doing this and that we've been living through the pandemic. And I know people have used, you know, Class Dojo, Seesaw, and they all kind of work in weird and wonderful ways. But our workload was quite good in the sense that we did a math Zoom a day, an English Zoom a day, and that was it. The rest of it was kind of, right, here's your work and get on with it. So in terms of screen time, it wasn't too bad. But of course, when you can't do anything else, it's kind of, well, I'm done teaching, but I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. So it was dull. It was towards the end, children were not with it. They were not on the boil. And then we went back into school and did a 12-week slog until we got to now, because we don't get the May half term, which the reasoning being is that they kind of tack it on to summer, which fair enough. I mean, you can't really argue with that when you're 2 months of sunshine and beach time. I mean, it's you can't really complain.
Yeah, no, it was the same for me in Spain. There was no kind of February or May half terms. I think we had like a couple of days maybe in, I can't remember actually, but we didn't really have many half terms. It was just the main holidays, but obviously summer was more substantial. So I mean, in terms of the experience, it sounds, you know, really kind of positive. And what in terms of your accommodation, I mean, how did you go about finding somewhere to live when you got there, and how did that go? And have you found somewhere affordable? I mean, is it cost effective, or do you feel like, because I know the wages and salaries aren't, I mean, I've been there myself. I know that the average in Spain and Portugal is between 20 and 25,000 euro, which can go quite a long way, to be fair, in Spain and Portugal. But how have you found it in terms of that side of things, like finding accommodation and settling in that way?
I mean, when I first moved out, because I did it so quickly, I did an Airbnb type thing, which is where I live with the landlady, and that served its purpose for a few months, and that was fine, and that was reasonably cost effective. But what's so great about international school communities is that there are people that have lived this before you, that have turned up not having a clue what they're doing, and they are very keen to help you out. They're very keen to go apartment viewing. There are often cases where somebody knows somebody who has an apartment, and that's what happened to me. I actually have a colleague whose friend lives in Belgium but has this apartment here that used to be an Airbnb, but of course, given everything that's gone on, no one's coming on holiday. So that's how I ended up with a very good deal in a lovely part. I'm actually in Montestoril, which is just back from Cascais, but it's quiet. It's a 1-bed apartment. And I pay 630 euros, which by the standards of where I am, because Cascais is a very
high-end area.
Yes, it's I do very well, shall we say? But it's, apartments are expensive. Prices have gone up, but school will always make sure that they help you out, and certainly with any other kind of administration as well, because, as I'm sure you know from your experience in Spain, the setup administration is quite lengthy. It's quite bureaucratic. It's quite so to have someone alongside you who can go with you to these meetings and go with you to house viewings is very helpful. And I mean, as far as I'm aware, in my experience and from the people I've spoken to, most schools will help you with that, because of course, at least initially, there is a huge language barrier as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we had someone when I arrived in Spain who helped us with it, took us around all the offices, took us to various places that we needed to know, police. God, there was just so much we had to do, and she was absolutely fantastic. She's no longer with us anymore, actually, but she was an amazing person who kind of helped. There was 17 of us actually who started at the same time in 2016 over there.
Wow.
And she helped all of us and got us helped us find flats, and
Yeah.
sort out all the paperwork. So that was, I mean, that is, it's something worth checking actually if you do go international, is
Oh,
what
most definitely. And
assistance you get on arrival. Yeah.
oh, for sure. And things like there are sort of perks involved. I mean, the way the salaries work in Portugal, I'm still not quite sure, but we get 14 months salary in 12 months. So there's 2 pay packets a year where we get, well, the one in December is not quite double, but before I left at the end of term, I had a double pay check through, which was quite a nice sort of hello summer as well. And things like another thing I have is a something called a lunch card, which is just a kind of separate little almost like a credit card where we get an additional 150 euros a month on that, and that works in most supermarkets, most restaurants, things like that. So that's a nice little add-on as well. And there are lots of, yes, the salaries aren't as high as as elsewhere, but there are then there are, and I get health insurance through school as well.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So they look after you very well. These international schools, it's in their interest because they're trying to bring people over, and particularly in the wake of things like Brexit, getting British staff over to Europe is not quite as easy as it once was.
Yes.
So,
I mean, does that not threaten the school longer term, Brexit, or is this something that they're kind of, you know, I mean, because it's presumably a British international or whatever. I mean, does that not impact things or not?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't for me because I actually have dual nationality. I have a German passport as well. So, but for my colleagues, they've had to redo a lot of admin as well. There's a lot of paperwork. We're all currently in the process of switching our driving licenses over. It's a lot of extra admin, really. I don't think. I mean, these schools need to continue hiring staff. They need to continue as they are. So
I mean, have British internationals become less attractive to parents, or is that because of Brexit, or has that had no impact on the way they see things?
No, I think that British education and these British international schools have such high standards that I think that will always be appealing. And the fact that they believe that the caliber of staff being hired is of great quality.
High, yes.
Yeah, so I think
of course it is, Lucy. You're there. I mean, come on.
I was trying to.
Yeah, no, don't. Just say it. Just say it. It's fine.
But I think that there are certain British things that will always be appealing to the international community, and I think also having children educated in English, it's a universal language as well, and a lot of the children that I teach are bi or even trilingual in some cases, and in a world where hopefully things will continue to be more global and people will move and shake in different places, I think that the community will thrive. And I think that it's the only trouble with it is that I think a lot of these international schools are a little bit, well, certainly I find mine is sometimes a little bit inward facing, and I just hope that we need to kind of get out into the community more and just celebrate the fact that we are an international community. And but it's difficult at the moment because we can't get out there. We can't do the things that I know my school normally would, and I've joined at a time where things aren't happening.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I found difficult over in my international experiences, because I taught across 2 countries over the 3-4 years, was professional development, and I felt a little bit disconnected from that. And it was fortunate because I was on Twitter and I was on social media and whatever, and that did help. But just in terms of the I didn't necessarily feel that I was advancing maybe as a professional in the same way that I did over in the UK beforehand, which, to be honest with you, at that point in my career wasn't, I could do a lot myself. I could do a lot myself, and I could learn a lot myself, and I could take the initiative a lot myself. But I'm wondering how you found the professional development element, because I mean, my first 9 years, whatever it was in the UK, was a real kind of intense experience in all levels. I mean, as a going up from history teacher, head of history, different positions there, and the professional development, A, opportunities and B, opportunities for progression were quite high. So how have you found that side of things?
I mean, again, it's because of not being able to kind of get out to other schools and do things. It's sort of been a bit stagnant. I mean, we kind of find out about things, and I think part of the reason that he's actually the outgoing head teacher now, brought sort of younger members of staff in, is because we have our finger on the pulse, or supposedly do, in terms of what's the kind of buzz thing of the moment, whether it's White Rose, whether it's Talk for Writing, whatever it is. And of course we have to do a lot of it online because of where we are, and the ability to fly people in for things is not what it once was. So there hasn't been much in terms of CPD at the moment, but my school has just joined an organization called Globe Educate, which has schools dotted around the world. So I'm hoping that becoming part of that will encourage more CPD across the board. And I know that we've got a lot of, or I think it's three people going forward for IPGCEs, which will be quite nice as well. So the teacher training aspect is there, but I think for the ones already in situ, it needs work, and it almost has to be driven by us rather than the head teacher or somebody else saying, what about this, what about that. It's more a case of, if you want to develop, you have to kind of find what it is you want to do. And I know for me, that's looking at developing because I'm on the maths team at school. I'm wanting to kind of develop that and maybe do another qualification that kind of pushes that forward. But that is all going to really have to be driven by me, and I'm going to have to find it and kind of almost pitch to the new head teacher that this is what I want to do. How can I do this? How does this work in terms of funding, etc. So it is a little bit kind of out of the loop in that sense, but I think that's maybe something that the community needs to work on as a whole.
Yeah, and a lot of the reasons why many people go international are the kind of travel experiences, opportunities as well. So what are your plans this summer then? Have you got any exciting plans or different plans of things to do?
Well, I mean, I think I will stay Portugal based, which is hardly a hardship, as we've discussed, because obviously there are restrictions in place. But I've been I've been glamping near Queenborough, which was great fun. I've done, what else have I done? I know that I've got friends in some other schools, and we're going to do a girls' activity trip, because a lot of us love hiking and things like that.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the Douro and do some wine tasting, which will be great, because I do think Portugal is untapped as a wine country. I think people forget about it and tend to lean more towards a Rioja or a French wine, whereas Portugal's wine is pretty good. So
no, that sounds
things
good.
like that will be great. And I've taken up surfing as well, which is
how's that going?
It's good fun. It's really good fun. But there's a lot of it's a different level of fitness. I'm actually sitting here trying to kind of stretch my arms out a little bit, because I did 4 days on the trot, and I now can't reach my arms above my head. So.
Right. Yeah. Have you managed to actually stand up yet? I mean,
in my head it looks great, and it looks like something out of an advert. In real life, I imagine there's a lot of kind of arm flailing. Look at me, I can do it, and then splat.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. And in terms of the restrictions over there, what are they currently, just in general, but also in school? I mean, what are the restrictions?
So I've been teaching in a mask all year. So when I have been in school, which is grim, as you can imagine, and if you are, as a kid, if you are 10 years old or over, then you're in masks as well. So being in year 5, the vast majority of them turned 10 in the time I was with them. So with them in a mask and me in a mask, you can imagine how that went.
Yeah.
It was, and even with 10-year-olds, it's a lot of, look, miss, it's a blindfold. Look, miss, it's a hat.
Yeah.
And you're just standing there thinking, okay, for me, I understand, adults in masks, okay, I can kind of, I mean, it's not great. You don't want to do it, but fine. For those kids, I just wonder really whether, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I wonder whether that's, inhibiting them more than is necessary, but that's a whole other argument. So there's that. In terms of more generally, we are experiencing a rise in cases, as I think everywhere is, with this Delta variant.
Mm.
And we're still, I mean, we're able to kind of move and shake around the place as fairly as normal, but all restaurants shut at 10:30 in the evening. I think in Lisbon, the weekend restrictions are coming in again. So more into the city, they are shutting earlier on weekends. I don't know about moving between municipalities, but they're trying to keep people sort of contained within their local areas, but still it's that battle between trying to keep things contained, but also keep things normal, because Portugal is one of those countries that cannot afford another full lockdown. And the Prime Minister has said, if he can absolutely avoid it, he's going to.
Well, I think it's the same across the board, really, in Europe.
Yeah.
I think the days of the full lockdowns might be coming to an end.
I sincerely hope so, but I think it's just we're told to kind of be cautious about it. You are expected, if you can't keep the 2 meter distance outside, to wear a mask, which is fair enough. Public transport, all the kind of same things that we're used to. But by and large, to be fair, I mean, we're living fairly, dare I say it, normally here.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, it sounds brilliant to me. I mean, Portugal's it's my top. It's just, I think I've said to you a couple of times on Twitter that it's just the dream. It's just
it
the dream.
Really is. It's lovely.
Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to ask you, actually, when we come back, very short advert, 1 minute. But what I'm going to ask you in the last 5 minutes or so is about your advice to prospective international teachers. Okay, so I'll be back with you in a second, and hopefully you can tell us all what you think about that one.
Brilliant.
Every teacher loves stationery, right? Imagine getting a selection of fun, beautiful and unique stationery items designed and selected especially for teachers, delivered through your door every month. You need to check out teacherslovestationery.club.
I'm always so excited when the box arrives. It's such a treat.
My Teachers Love Stationery Club box is just a little treat to myself every month.
It's always full of delightful and surprising items, including some really good quality stationery brands like Faber-Castell and Stabilo.
And because you never know what you're going to get, it makes it even more fun and special when you get it.
It feels really great to be supporting a family business that's run by real teachers. I can't help feeling like they just know what I'm going to enjoy using stationery-wise better than I do myself.
Visit teacherslovestationery.club and enter the code TTRadio when you buy your first stationery box to save £2 today. teacherslovestationery.club.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Teachers Talk Radio. Thanks everybody for joining us live. I'm talking with Lucy Newberger. Lucy, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Really enjoying this. It's been good fun.
Well, absolutely. It's we've covered quite a lot of ground, haven't we, this morning? If this is your first time tuning into Teachers Talk Radio live, or perhaps you're listening back to this as a podcast, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And if you want to catch up on or listen to any of our other shows, you can just visit the website at ttradio.org. So, Lucy, in terms of international teaching, what kind of advice might you give to particularly, because you'd only been teaching for a few years when you decided to make that move, so particularly for somebody in the UK who maybe hasn't been teaching for longer than a couple of years, I mean, is there a point where you'd say, you know what, I think that's too early to go international? I mean, do you think the timing was right for you? I mean, you'd done 3 years, hadn't you? 4 years, was it? 5 years? I don't know. You've done a few, but I mean,
4, yeah.
4. So, I mean, do you think there's a point where it would be too early?
Well, I mean, most schools, I'm just basing this on kind of the research that I did. Most schools will want you to have 2 years experience in the UK. Having said that, I know that there are schools who do take people for NQT years. Whether I've seen that more actually really in the UAE rather than in Europe.
Yes.
But as a general rule, my understanding is that it's a couple of years in the UK at least. So you understand, you have your understanding of the British curriculum. You kind of got past that initial NQT phase, and that you're established, if you like, which I think does take a good couple of years. I was ready. I mean, I teacher trained when I was 26, so I was a little bit older anyway, which I think also helped. In terms of schools and moving to the international community or moving to an international school, do your research. Would be my number one tip. Do your research. Look at these school websites. Does it appeal to you?
Do you think? Do you? I mean, what do you look for then on the website? I mean, how do you know that that's a fair representation of the school? I mean, are there any telltale signs you can see there? Is there anything you sort of?
Yeah, a lot of photos of things going on. You can, I mean, it is difficult because you're not visiting these places. I mean, I set foot in my job having never been to the school, having not even met the head teacher in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, in the olden days, pre-pandemic, they often flew people out actually to interview and things like that. Whether that will start up again, I don't know. But it's talking to people in the know as well. There are a lot of forums. I mean, I used TES for most of my research and kind of looked at these different schools, looked at what different people have said about them. And for me, also, even when you are interviewed as well, you can almost tell. I mean, I've actually turned down jobs where I felt that just when I spoke to the person who was interviewing me, or when I sort of got involved in the process, it just didn't quite sit right with me.
Yeah.
And it is okay to say no. It's a big deal moving abroad, whether it's Europe, whether it's somewhere else. So I think you've got to know in your gut that it's okay.
Out of interest, what were the things? I mean, are there examples you can give of things that didn't sit well? Are there any kind of red flags for you where you think, oh God, no, I can't do that one?
Yeah, I interviewed for a job in Spain. And I remember the interview only being about 15 minutes long and getting a job offer on the back of that. And I just thought to myself, after 15 minutes, what can you possibly know about me? And what can I possibly know about you? It felt a bit desperate, and it felt a little bit like they just wanted to fill a role, and they were so keen to find someone that could just fly over and do it. Whereas the interview that I had for the role I'm in now, we were chatting for hour and a half.
Yeah.
All my questions were answered, and it felt better. It felt like they cared about me, like they understood where I was coming from, and all the kind of things that I picked up from their websites and that I wanted sort of explained further or developed further. They were able to answer those questions. So again, looking at those school websites, if there are things that come up that you want to ask them and they're able to do that, then that does go some way towards you thinking, okay, this is not just a kind of a flash marketing strategy that you've put forward. This is actually, I believe your school is like this. And it is hard to gauge. And I do think you have to kind of take matters into your own hands a bit and use your professional judgment, and understand that maybe you're not going to be able to see the school before you fly over, but being, when you are interviewed, or if someone is willing to answer your questions rather than just ignoring you, or rather than just sending you a kind of a stroppy email, which I've had as well, just from interactions like that who you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucy, it's been an absolute pleasure this morning. We're nearly out of time, so I'm going to let you go and enjoy the sunshine and the beaches and everything else that I'm thoroughly angry about you having right now. So thank you ever so much for coming on Teachers Talk Radio, and
thank you for having me.
We'll have to have you on again sometime. Definitely.
It'll be an absolute pleasure. Cheers, Tom.
Thanks very much indeed. See you later. Bye. Okay, that was Lucy, and this has been the morning break on Teachers Talk Radio. Thanks everybody who has joined us live this morning, but don't worry, there's many more live shows for you to enjoy even today, because at 4:00 we've got Seb Ventura with The Drive Home, we've got Genevieve Bent at 8 p.m, and then we've got Amanda Wilson at 10 p.m. for the Late Late Show. So don't worry, you've still got plenty more of your Teachers Talk Radio fix coming up in the rest of the day today. Check out the website ttradio.org to listen back to recent shows. And last night we had a show from Noreen interviewing the National Director of Education at Ofsted, Sean Harford. It was a really revealing interview, and lots of really interesting finds in the interview, and a really interesting listen. So make sure you check it out. That's on the website now to listen back to. That would have been the Late Show with Noreen Khalid, which was last night at 8 p.m. So if you have a look on the listen back page on the website, you'll find that show. Do check it out. And also on Friday morning, I should mention, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. on The Breakfast Show with Kate Jones, she's interviewing Professor Rob Coe, famous for the report Great Teaching, which came out a number of years ago, really seminal teaching and learning report, research paper. So if you do have time in the morning, turn on Teachers Talk Radio on your commute and listen and learn from Professor Rob Coe and the wonderful Kate Jones. I will be back with you next Thursday, where I'm actually discussing long COVID. I've got a couple of guests who are still experiencing long COVID, unfortunately. And I'm going to be discussing how that impacts their work in schools, what the situation will be moving forward, how the government should deal with long COVID, particularly for educators. That's coming up next Thursday. Really important show at 9 a.m. next. Oh, no, it won't be. Will it be? Yes, it will be. It will be 9 a.m. next Thursday morning on the morning break, talking about that. So do join us live for that. And yeah, I will see you then. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.